computer. Okay, Troy
Andrew,
Sedgwick. Good to have you on here.
happy to be here.
Troy from Rec Media. So my name is Andrew Obrecht. I'm with EO Calgary, and this, let's call it an episode, is brought to you by one of our sponsors, McLeod Law. Hopefully, they're here to support all of us through this crazy time. But Troy, why don't you just tell me a little bit who you are, what your company is, and a little bit about you.
Yeah, sure. Happy to do so. So I'm Troy Sedgwick, EO Calgary. I've been in EO for, gosh, I got to say 8-10 years. I should count, but it's been a while. I founded and I run Rec Media 26 years ago. My ongoing joke is that I started when I was 11. So do the math or don't do the math. And what our business is we have aggregated together recreational facilities coast to coast. And we market those properties and connect brands with the audiences that are in these facilities. So think your community hockey rinks, curling rinks, indoor soccer centers, baseball diamonds, and the like. And we've networked them together, and they're connecting the brands with those audiences in those buildings.
That's amazing. And I mean, you guys have been on the Growth 500 of Canada's fastest growing companies for actually 4 consecutive years. And then we had a brief opportunity to talk about kind of the last year or the last 2 years. I mean, things seem to be dragging on, but tell me like how that lands, being on that Growth 500, and then also like how that lands for you now, kind of looking at what you've just been through.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we were blessed to have some really rapid growth 4 years in a row. You can only stay on that list for so long because it's an exponential growth curve. But we had some real success, which took us to a whole new level. You know, it's a scale game, and allowed us to do some neat things. But as you alluded to, as many entrepreneurs and small businesses experienced, we got our knees taken out from under us with COVID. All our venues closed down for pretty much 18 months from March 2020 until really kind of just this summer and fall. So I likened it to a hurricane. I said, you know what, there's nothing wrong with our boat. We just got to get down below, batten down the hatches, and wait out the storm. And so we leaned out, we made some necessary changes. We took advantage of all the government grants and the loans. I threw in a little more, my wife and I myself, and we just made a decision to double down on the business. And we have thankfully survived, and we're coming out of it. And right now as we speak, and I am somewhere between cautiously and bullishly optimistic on our future, because the space of recreation, and as a father with kids in hockey and ringette, has not only not died, it's coming back with a fury, because people cannot wait to get back in the buildings. And if they get back, then the eyeballs are back, and then the marketability of our spaces is back. But I won't lie, it has been really hard the last year and a half.
Yeah, so let's dive into that a little bit. And Troy, I was on a panel for National Depression Screening Week last week, kind of talking about how important it is to have conversations about what we're going through and so on. And this wasn't the direction that I thought I was going to go into, but let's lean into it. Sure. Especially as two men within the industry, and a lot of times men don't like to talk about feelings and so on, and everything is okay. But mainly the question that I got for you is like, how did you, obviously you have a great support system, it seems. EO, I'm sure, was a great support system for you, but how did you do personally as a leader, and how did you kind of push through that, or what was some of your mantras or some of your thoughts? And then how did you kind of support your team through it too?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to talk about that. I think I had shared earlier that, 3 pillars I relied on were gratitude, that despite our troubles and the challenges we're facing, I am grateful to be living in the country of Canada, where we had tremendous financial supports from our governments. And whether you love or loathe the current government, we had financial supports that really made the difference between our business surviving and failing. I also just live a life of gratitude, recognizing that, even my worst days running a business in COVID are probably better than, 5, if not 6 billion people's best days on the planet. And so when you live a spirit of gratitude, I find that to be a tremendous antidote to depression and getting down and wallowing in your sorrows. And I often say this, I said, I don't want to conjure up images of refugees and starving children, but they're out there. And when we keep that perspective, our challenges and our sufferings in comparison are not so bad. Now, having said that, I'm a big fan of Brene Brown, and she often says, don't compare your suffering to others. And it's not that we shouldn't, to your comment, it shouldn't be that we should just pretend everything's okay, because it's not. Simon Sinek once said, positivity is blowing smoke out your ass, pretending everything's okay. Optimism is saying it's not okay, but it could be worse and it's going to get better. So gratitude was a huge thing. The second pillar was hope, just that this too shall pass, again, pulling from the Simon Sinek comment, and I clung to that. I continue to cling to that. And then I've been living a spirit of grace, just giving grace to all of our political leaders and all the people that are going through the craziness and the irrational and illogical thought on both sides of the equation, and saying, you know what, this is the time to just extend grace to our fellow man and our leaders. And I think those three pillars, Andrew, really gave me a lot of, as well as great emotional support from family and friends and EO, gave me a real foundation to plow through.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then, kind of shifting note to EO, you said you'd been in EO for 8 to 11 years somewhere.
Yeah, I think we're going back to 2012. I think I just looked. I think I've been in since 2012. Yeah. So it's about 9 years. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what's been the experience like? Like, what's EO to you? And then what is one, experience kind of, once in a lifetime experience that you can share with us?
Yeah, well, I think the beauty of EO is just that, I love the saying, misery loves company. And it's the saying, right? It's because when you commiserate with others and you see others going through the same challenges and the same pain and the same suffering, you can collaborate, you can commiserate, you can support and encourage. And it's often stuff that only other business owners would get. I can't talk to my staff about the challenges of, how am I going to pay my bills this month? Or is this going to come back? Or, do I lay off person A or lay off person B? Those are the kind of conversations you can only have with fellow business owners. I'm fortunate and blessed to have a spouse that really is supportive and is pretty savvy. But it's nothing like having fellow business owners. So EO is so important in that regard. The other things I loved about EO is you talk about the once in a lifetime experiences, the oil experiences. And I think separate from obviously the learning and the support and the camaraderie and the peer learning that exists, I have had just fabulous trips. I've been to Iceland twice with EO. We've done Napa, sometimes just heading out to a ranch, here in Southern Alberta. And there's obviously a combination of tremendous learning, a lot of fun and camaraderie, and really some experiences that you wouldn't do were it not for EO and our forums making those plans. So I'm a big fan.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, now shifting focus, as this is kind of a quick hitter, 10-minute quick glimpse into your life. So,
yeah.
I do want to know, like, why do you do what you do?
Well, that's a good question. Our core purpose as a company is supporting the communities in which we do business, and a substantial portion of our proceeds go back to these not-for-profit community associations and municipalities. And I've said, to my staff, I often say we're not curing cancer or saving babies. And I say that to de-stress ourselves so that we're not, burning out or losing sleep over a media or advertising firm. But I've said we are also very fortunate that we have a company that is actually, in its own small way, making a difference in the world. Because as we connect corporations and brands with these associations and the audiences therein, we are reducing the fees that they need to charge, or the taxes they need to charge, to everyday citizens and to moms and dads and people that are participating in sports. So we feel good about that. And that kind of gets us out of bed. That, and I kind of have a bigger vision that I really like to take the proceeds of the business and then my wife and I just personally give back to causes that are near and dear to our heart. So I see the business as a means to an end, a means to just in and of itself make the world a little bit of a better place, but also in addition to supporting our lifestyles and the people we employ, that we can choose to give back to causes that are near and dear to our hearts. So what gets me out of bed is not selling media and advertising. It's using it as a tool to support the families, including my own, and just make a little difference in the world.
That's great. And as we're kind of wrapping up the conversation, you talked about not aging yourself, but when if you could go back, to your younger self, right? First of
Yeah.
all, is this what you thought you were going to be doing? What did you want to do?
Yeah.
And then number two, if you could go back and give yourself a piece of advice, of sage wisdom, what would you tell your younger self? So is this what you wanted to do when you were younger? And what advice would you give to yourself?
Yeah, sure. To the first question, no, this is probably a longer story than the podcast. It's quite happenstance and serendipity how this business started. The short Coles Notes version is it was a university idea where I literally showed up unprepared for a class, presented this concept, and my group said it was a great idea. And I presented 2 days later to the rest of the class, and the prof said it was a good idea. And between he and my entrepreneurial father, they lit a fire under my butt, and I actually started it 26
Amazing.
years ago. And just a series of serendipitous events led to it being what it is today. So no, I did not have this vision, when I was 16, that I was going to be running this media advertising company in community municipal recreational facilities. So I believe you got to be good to be lucky and lucky to be good. And I had some good fortune with timing and serendipity. To the second question, what piece of advice would I give my younger self? It's funny, a lot of entrepreneurs are very risk tolerant, and I'm not. I'm moderate. And, I kind of fell into this by happenstance. I was still living at home. I didn't have families and mortgages, to worry about when I set out on my own. And I have immense respect for my fellow entrepreneurs that really put their lives on the line in starting businesses. Mine was an easy, kind of a slow launch. And so the piece of advice I would give my younger self would be take more risk, because I think I could have accelerated the learning curve and the growth curve significantly faster if I hadn't been as cautious and meticulous and intentional in the early years of the business. So yeah, I've grown more risk tolerant out of necessity running the business, and emboldened in my abilities and in my space to take a few more chances. Not crazy, but yeah, be a little more risk tolerant.
That's great. That's great advice. Awesome. Okay. Well, we're all wrapped up here. We'll stay on for an extra second after we're done. But again, thank you so much, Troy Sedgwick from Rec Media. And again, thanks to our sponsor, McLeod Law, for this episode.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Andrew. Appreciate it.